Okay, hi everyone, so today's video is going to be a photo slideshow of the history of me and my boat up until the point where she was launched. I hope you enjoy watching. I started off my boating journey on the Norfolk Broads on this inflatable kayak that you see here. I then moved on to an inflatable dinghy with an electric outboard engine. Then my parents went on holiday. They hired this narrowboat called Julia, and I just happened to be in the area at the time, so I went to join them, and here's me at the tiller going over Chirk Aqueduct. Shortly after I moved to Manchester, I became in the market for a narrowboat, and a friend of mine knew about this one here that was for sale. Now, as you can see from the outside, it's obviously been neglected for a few years, and yes, the rock there that you see on the air vent on the roof is integral to it not leaking water into the cabin. Now, on the inside you can see that the interior is looking pretty dated, but structurally it's all there and looked fairly sound. That is with the exception of where the water had been leaking through the side hatch onto the floor in the galley, which I put my foot through the floor onto the metalwork beneath, which is why you can see the board in the doorway. Now, the bedroom's also looking a bit sorry state, but obviously it's all there and just needed a bit of work to make it all nice. The first day that I owned my boat, I had her taken out of water and put into dry dock, as there was various jobs that needed doing on her. Now, this is where she sat for the next 4 months. Obviously, being the first day of owning the boat, I had to spend the night aboard, so I got a fire lit, and this is me snuggled up in bed that night. As previously mentioned, the side hatch was leaking, so initially I put a bin bag over it and taped over it to try and keep the water out, before later replacing it with a polycarbonate window and a new frame. And then subsequently I made a proper door that you can see here. The next thing I needed to sort out was the floor, so I cut out all the rotten boards and replaced them with new boards, and then I carpeted over the whole floor. I was given a load of carpet tiles, so none of this really cost me anything, and actually I think the result came up pretty good. Now, with the new lights fitted on the ceiling and the curtains hung, although the boat was still in the boatyard, it was now ready for me to move in. And here's a picture of all my stuff as I just put it in the boat when I first started to move in. Now, the reason I moved in while I was still in the boatyard is this is the house where I used to live, and a few months later this is what it looked like. As I moved aboard during the Beast from the East that we had a few years back, I decided it was time to turn my attention to the stove, so I cleaned up the metalwork of it and got it repainted, and I also replaced the upturned pub table that was behind it with the proper boards. And here are some of the things that I cooked on top of the stove in the first few weeks. When I first moved aboard my boat, it originally had a pump-out toilet, but as you can see here, there was a big rusty hole in the top of the tank. So I got that removed and I replaced that with a cassette toilet, which is what I still have today. So eventually I got round to paying my attention to the hull. Now, I was lucky enough on this side that I had a friend come along and help me by cleaning up all the metalwork for me, and I just followed her around with a tin of blacking. Now, the opposite side I did all by myself, and as you can see in this photo, I'm halfway down the side. Now, doesn't it make such a difference when it's freshly painted? Now, the rudder on here had been left intentionally as I needed some work done on the prop at this time. Now, as I said before, it was pretty cold while I was trying to do all this work, and this photo shows it perfectly. On the warmer days I got the roof painted and I started to fit the new vents, and here's a photo of the boat with all the new vents fitted. I made good use of the last few weeks of being in the boatyard by getting the metalwork on the cabin cleaned up and primed. It was also at this time I replaced both the navigation lights with new LED ones, as the old ones weren't working at all. Now, after several months of very hard work, the time finally came where she was ready to be put back in the water. Now, I was very pleased with what I'd achieved during this time, but also very nervous because I was just hoping that everything would be okay, especially as she's being lowered into the water, because you could hear the metal creaking and things. Anyway, as you can see here, everything was all okay. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, then please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all again in the next video. Bye bye!